Let me say that silver holders are going to be the financial hippies of this millennial, because hippies actually were the ones that thought outside the box, and that's really what silver holders are. And there's one Trump advantage, not using the guy's name, I'm just saying as a word, as an adjective. There's one serious advantage to having silver besides the financial aspect, but financial potential, is the fact that it's a very strong antibiotic. If you take silver and you use electronics like just 30 volts and a simple battery, and you put in use 2 silver rods, and you can make your colloidal ionic silver solution out of that, and it's very antiseptic. There's no other metal that really does that except copper, but copper is pretty toxic. That's one of the problems. You don't want to use too much of that. So in a lot of ways, us silver holders are basically like the hippies for this new millennial. So, one of the things that we got a problem with, though, is that the financial people on the top, this is what I always find interesting, because, if you're a Series 6, a Series 7, or a Series 66, or whatever, you have a brokerage house, and a client comes into you, you're never going to advise them to buy any kind of physical metal, because you're not going to, unless the physical metal is being held on paper in their account, because there's absolutely no way they're going to make a fee off of that. So for the most part, well, for pretty much everything all across the board, anybody that's in the financial world is never going to tell you to buy a physical metal. Now, I could say one thing I was been correct about from way back when was about palladium. And if you've seen what happened with palladium over the last 5 years, it actually is about the same price as gold, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under, but doing quite well. But, right now it looks like silver's still in the doldrums. I guess that Jim Rogers prediction about it's going to have a long, complicated bottom, it's probably that turned out to be correct. A lot of people didn't want to believe it, but, they had that starry-eyed outlook on the future, like Liz Taylor over here saying, yeah, I think it's going to do great. She had a starry-eyed outlook back when she was a young actress, for sure. But in a lot of ways, we're the guys that are freaking outside the box. We're outside the box. We're not in the mainstream. There's absolutely 99.99% of the people out there, they want everything electronic. And actually, in the real world, that's the way things work. But if there was a breakdown of the system, which the only thing I can really think of that could really break down the system really fast is an EMP. I know, I think President Trump signed a executive order here recently, talking about, not that there's going to be any action on it right away, trying to strengthen our grid system. In reality, though, all this other stuff about everything falling apart in the financial world, people do not realize what a workaholics a lot of people are in the financial world. They work 70, 80 hours a week. They're extremely intelligent. They're constantly crunching numbers in spreadsheets. If there's a way to devise a way out of a financial crunch, they'll do it. They'll do it. I guess the real problem with the economy is people not actually producing enough. And actually, I think one of the problems we have with the economy today is that we're very heavy on the financial sector. We used to be heavier on the industrial and farming and agricultural sector, where people were making things. Now we're pretty heavy on the financial sector because a lot of people realize that's where the money is, but that's going to change. But the thing is, people just need to go into the actual producing sector, whether it be agricultural or industrial. Get back to basics. By the way, if you're ever in an EMP, here's your solution right there, the old VW Bug. That EMP proof, and you can live in it. Plus, you can drive wherever you really need to. Oh, the other solution is your old Captain America chopper bike. Uses a points ignition system. You don't have to worry about any kind of electronics or anything. But, the thing is that I'm very much suspecting that we're going to see a downturn, and this has been overdue. It's not a conspiracy theory or anything. It's literally stock market economics 101. Really what happens is about every 7 to 10 years, there's like cycles, up and down, around 7 to 10 years. So the last down cycle, I know when they pushed the TARP program, Troubled Asset Relief Program, was in October. When they really had a financial crisis was October 2008, and they also had the crisis in the money market crunch, where we almost had a bank closure for a couple days, but it wouldn't have been forever. That was in September 2008, but the markets really didn't crash all the way down to the lowest point till like March 2009. So we're past 10 years. So we're like overdue for a normal correction. Not, a drama doom and gloom prediction, correction, a normal correction. And this actually is going to be kind of timed with, Trump getting reelected, which is not going to bode well for him. That's, I noticed that back in 1991, H.W. Bush. I'm not a fan of any of these politicians, okay? I'm not saying this political one way or the other, but H.W. Bush had a 91% approval rating on the heels of Desert Storm, and a year later, since the economy took a turn south, he lost the election to Bill Clinton, an upstart nobody ever heard of, in 1992. Well, partly because of Ross Perot, too. But there's other things coming up that could put stresses on our economy. I know last winter in the Northeast, they did not have much of a winter, but they did have a pretty severe winter in Chicago and Colorado. And, Colorado even had the largest snowpacks and snowfalls and the largest avalanches just here a few weeks ago. And they didn't even expect some of these roads to be cleared till July. It's like 100 feet of snow. It sounds crazy. Here we are in the summertime, and I'm down here in Florida. It sounds really ridiculous to me, but I know that's not everywhere in the country. But that does affect the economy. That puts a strain on the economy. I think as we go into this mini ice age, this is going to put more strain on the economy and fuel prices and demand for fuel, which is also related to, how things are tensions are increasing with Iran. You're hearing a lot these things have been going on for so many years. Hard to predict when it's actually going to happen. But I do know that when oil spikes, that's when you're going to see the silver go up. Not until that time. People say, oh, it can't happen. Well, yes, it can happen. The main reason oil spikes up real high is when there's a real war going on in the Middle East. Whatever happens, whenever it happens, I don't know. But if you look historically, whenever there's been there's always some kind of war going on over there, but when there's something more bigger conflict, a much bigger conflict going on that's significant, you'll see the oil prices go up a lot. And that's when gold goes up, and that's when silver goes up, but also all the commodities. Nickel goes up, lead goes up, zinc, aluminum, palladium, platinum, whatever. Every whole 9 yards. Actually, I think a lot of people ought to be more concerned about, their own little world than, some of these things that they're worried about, people going out in the streets and protesting with pink hair or something, for something, I don't know, do not litter or whatever, be myself, whatever, I don't know, whatever they're doing. But you got to get down to basics, because nobody's going to really help you out, man. That's really what happens. And, I put this out here. President Kennedy, be careful. A lot of people really realized he was kind of in danger because he was going too much against the big boys. I don't really think Mr. Trump is doing that exactly, but, a lot of people believe he is, but I don't really think he is. But, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? My advice always is to, try to be as independent as possible, and, learn your trades and learn your own skills so you can be independent, and pretty much ignore all the garbage that's out there that they push in, entertainment and all other garbage. One of the beauties of YouTube is actually that you can see things that are going on that are real, and, real people doing stuff, unlike what you get on mainstream TV. God, sometimes I really like I do a lot of how-to videos on my channel, but I noticed that, there's other people doing, but, they're so much more real than when you look at a prepackaged mainstream TV show. They make it look so easy. It's not so easy. No, no way in hell. But you got to be your own person, and actually, that's one of the main reasons you got to be invested in silver. And what I'm going to say though here is that I think that there's going to be, if this Bolton guy, who's a warmonger, gets his way, it's almost like you really don't even want silver to go up in some ways, because the reason is, I know it, I wish silver would just go up and nothing else would go up. That would be the ideal situation. But that's not really how it's going to work. What's going to happen is, when silver goes up, it's going to be energy prices are going to be going through the roof. You're going to be paying more money there. And since food is very energy dependent, to produce and transport, and even the pesticides is all energy independent, on the petroleum industry, that's going to go up a lot. And all your commodities are going to go up a lot. So if you got the old street rod V8 out there, it's going to be pretty expensive to get from point A to point B. You might be out there using a bicycle. So, I mean, it's not like, some people are delusional in thinking that silver is like this microcosm, that it's going to go up, explode in price, and because everybody's going to run to it because that's the only money there is. That's ludicrous. That really is. That's ludicrous. I mean, if you can make people believe that, sure, it would work. But how are you going to make people believe that? I guess that's where you got all these people on YouTube trying to make you believe that. My opinion on silver is that, for one, it's always a good investment to have some, because of the antibiotic qualities, the antimicrobial qualities. That alone makes it useful to have. If there's one thing, hands down, because it's been known. Actually, before penicillin was around, they used to use the colloidal silver, the silver salts for everything, and also now they're starting to use it more in bandages. And it helps heal the wounds up better, not just keeping the microbes out, but also helps the wounds to heal quicker, because it helps the body produce stem cells right in the area where the silver is. And that's been proven back in the late 1970s by Dr. Otto Becker, who wrote the book The Body Electric. But the thing is, you need to be independent, and having some silver is actually extremely important, not just due to the financial aspect, like I said, is the medical antimicrobial aspect. But there's other uses for it. But when for instance, you're like, you give the example, even if you're, this is why you need to really prep a little bit, and silver is like one aspect of prepping, I guess. Say for instance, the financial world doesn't collapse. We don't have which I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be ups and downs like normal. Like, we're probably overdue for a major downturn. But everything, as long as the government doesn't interfere in the economy, it does readjust a lot faster than you would expect. As long as the government doesn't interfere, that could be the big problem. The government interferes in, how things, because everybody works. They keep working, keep a positive attitude, keep working, and you'll be out of it. But there's always there's always a chance, like for instance, you could be, snowed in, or have a hurricane and power's out, or have an earthquake like if you're in California and transportation's down. You always want to prep. And silver, just for its antimicrobial properties, is a smart thing to have, because you could preserve water a lot longer. You could preserve any kind of liquid a lot longer just by having a pure silver coin in there, or adding some colloidal silver to it. And that alone makes it well worthwhile. But it's amazing how you could tell somebody this, and this is the absolute truth. It doesn't really create a demand. It's like somebody goes, "Oh, that's interesting," and that's it. But one of the things I really see that's the biggest problem for world destabilization is going to be religious wars. Tell you the truth, I'm not really a big fan of a lot of religions, period. I think I lean Jewish. I definitely do lean Jewish, way more. I think that religion's more accurate, although I'm not officially Jewish, but you know, to me, people that are too religious, that's bad. That's bad, and this is probably one of the things that can lead to a real economic destabilization quicker than a heartbeat. It's like I said, if there's a problem where the debt scenario of the United States becomes critical mass or something like that, and there's a big problem, there's always something they could do to smooth it out. Like I said, the guys that are not crunching the numbers, because I wasn't one of them really big time for a long time. They could smooth things out. They could figure a way out of it. If it's just a matter of, because the underlying economy is basically made up of people who really are doing the actual work, and if somehow it stops due to the grease of money not flowing through the economy, well, there's a way to keep that grease flowing. In other words, through some kind of financial manipulation, you'll get it done. But what could really throw us off the freaking tracks and have a problem where, because wars are one of the most, even if you win a war, you lost economically. You know that? Even World War II, when we fought World War II, the United States came out ahead, but the cost of that war was, was infinitesimally far more than it should have, if we could all found a solution to work peacefully together. And of course, stop the imperialists and the Nazis and all that stuff like that. If we could have done it a different way, it'd been nice. But all wars actually are the most biggest economic destructive engine going. No doubt about it. So, because it really affects the common people more than anybody. It doesn't affect the wealthy. It doesn't hardly affect the politicians either. And that's one of the reasons, that could be a reason to have like gold and silver, because, if you look at here historically, when times are extremely uncertain, people have run to gold, and, gold is silver is somewhat attached to gold. If gold goes up a lot, silver usually will follow eventually. And sometimes it spikes past that. But, to rely on silver as a sole investment, it's actually ludicrous. It is. And, that was one of the things I was pointing out some years ago, which a lot of people didn't like hearing. But, because it was going up back then, people were thinking it was going to go back up to the moon. I expected silver to top $50 an ounce, and maybe just stop at 70 or 60 or something like that. I personally think it's going to go back up there somewhere along the line. And, it's something that, you could freaking grow an oak tree in the time you're waiting for this thing to happen. But on the flip side, there is one always important aspect to that silver, which I mentioned a few times already, is the antimicrobial properties of it. There's no antimicrobial properties to a $1 bill. You can't put a $1 bill in water with some electricity and make colloidal silver out of it, or colloidal paper money out of it. No way. It's not going to do you any good. It's just a piece of paper. Silver actually is the only metal that really does that, where it has antimicrobial properties. Way back in the Roman times, the soldiers were had a standing order. They used to have to ingest a denarius, which is like the size of a dime, and they used to have to keep it in their stomach at all times. And then when they excreted it, they had to wash it off and re-ingest it. The reason is that silver would work against the bad microbes in the gut, and it doesn't affect the good microbes, only the bad microbes. And 90% of your immune system is actually in the gut, and most of the diseases start in the gut. So if you can keep that balance correct with the right bioflora, you'll go a long way to freaking, staying healthy. They knew this 2,000 years ago, the Roman soldiers. And something else I want to say here. I don't like doom and gloom videos. I'm not a fan of that type of stuff. But I want to tell you this: that one of the things, you want to remember, and this is a story about a guy who was an old guy. He used to sell, it's just a hypothetical story, but he was an old guy. He used to have a hot dog stand near a railroad station. And every time the railroad would come by and stop, he'd say, get your hot dogs, get your hot dogs. And he'd be selling hot dogs every day, and he'd be out there doing that all the time. Well, he sent his son back east to go to college, and his son came back a few years later with a college degree, and he comes up to, he comes back and he sees his dad, and his dad is getting ready to buy more ovens and expand the place because he's doing well in business. And he goes, the son tells the father, hey, don't you realize that, we're under depression right now, that we're not going to be able to sell the people, the economy's bad and stuff. You shouldn't be trying to expand right now because there's a depression going on. And the guy believed him. So what he did was he stopped going out there and saying, hey, get your hot dogs, get your hot dogs. And sure enough, his business went down. So, the moral of the story is, if somebody tells you there's all these problems, just ignore those people. You don't want to ignore something like, hey, there's a truck coming down the road, get out of the road. That you don't want to ignore. But as far as, the doom and gloomers, ignore them. Because you can make your own, future by your, what kind of outlook you have. As a matter of fact, I think the guy, I'll give you another story here. The guy that was, I forget the guy's name, Schroeder or something. I forgot the guy's name. He's a famous guy. The one that wrote all the Peanuts characters, like with Linus and Charlie Brown and Lucy and Pigpen and all that stuff. That guy was a failure pretty much all his life. He was by the book, you would say, right? He couldn't play sports. He was always sick. Even Disney turned him down for being an artist and drawing. So he started writing. He started drawing that cartoon Charlie Brown, the guy that always kind of screwed up. It was really about himself, and people loved it. And that's where it turned into this really big thing. And it was many, 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 many years before he happened onto this. So, that's an example of, how the unexpected happens sometimes. So, hippies use the back door, no exceptions. Well, right now, I guess, even on YouTube, we're probably all the hippies, right? Anybody that's a YouTuber that's real is probably like the hippies, go use the back door compared to, what's going on. I've been hearing this stuff. Hopefully I'm okay for this thing. But, your attitude is 99% of everything. It is. It's like if you believe something's bad's going to happen, well, then something bad's going to happen. It may happen anyway, it might not, but you believe in that, it's just going to make things worse. You got to have some kind of positive attitude. But then again, you don't want to be like a starry-eyed idiot believing that, I can walk on water. You don't want to be that. But the point is, if you don't freaking just keep trying to keep ahead, you're never going to go anywhere. There's no doubt about it. And one of the things I have warned people about, because I'm just in accounting. I'm still in the CPA firm. I'm not there every day, but I'm there like once or twice a week. It's always like they always consider commodities. It's like 101, investment 101. Commodities are a high risk investment, but possibly high reward. And they could be a very high reward. But then, do you want to put everything into high risk investment? No. That's what people were doing way back when. But it's not a stupid investment. There's no doubt about it. It's like, it's an investment that's ignored for one major reason. The brokers, the Series 6s and the Series 7s and Series 66s and all that, they do not get any fees from you buying physical silver. The only ones that get a fee off of it are the bullion dealers, which I'm not associated with at all, by the way, not in the least. But, so that's the only ones. And they're not the big, the big ones out there that are in the investment world, bullion dealers certainly are not. So, that's so my point is that most professionals in suits will discourage you from buying silver. And they are skewed too far one way too. Because they have a financial interest in not in telling you not to buy physical silver. The only physical silver they tell you to buy is something that's on a piece of paper that's in their brokerage account that they're getting a fee off it. So they're always chasing down filthy rich clients. So because the more dollars they got in their accounts, the more dollars they make. I mean, some client can call them up every once in a while and ask for some statement or something or clarification on something, and they could be making these brokers. They could be making six figures. They got enough clients. They got a few big clients. They're not going to tell them to go. They're not going to go tell them don't invest in me, buy silver instead or gold or something. They don't tell them that. That's why you're never hearing them people to tell you to do that. They might tell you to do it if it's in their account on paper, but never physically. So that's how it works, man. So I mean, there is a happy medium between all this stuff because on one side the suits are kind of lying to you, and the other side is the hippie silver holders are a little too starry-eyed about their investment. But I always look at it from the medical side. The medical side is that there's absolutely no pharmaceutical out there that works against all microbes. Silver can. The problem is you can't get silver. You have to get silver into such. I know they've done this before with. They don't do it, in the United States much, but they might do it in Italy. Italy, they will. Yeah, they do in Italy. They can inject a person with special, high quality ionic colloidal silver intravenously. If they got a blood infection, it'll knock it out. That's one way of doing it. I mean, it works it works as good as vitamin C. So, and, just because it works doesn't mean they're going to do it over here because, like I said, there's got to be a financial aspect of why they want to do it. It's too cheap, You really can't patent silver anymore. So, but we shall see what's going to happen here in the future. But to me, I think we're up. I think we're up for a bumpy ride, man. Because when you're looking at that debt clock, that's one thing I always think is, not the end of the world or anything, but it's something whereby the United States' power is going to be greatly diminished in some time in the 2020s, because when you're looking at that debt clock, we just keep adding more and more debt to it. Trump got in office, right? He keeps adding more and more debt to it. They all do it, right? And one of these days, they're not going to have the money to, support all these government programs. And I says, the guys that are doing the financial shenanigans, they'll figure out a way around it, but it's still not going to be that easy for a lot of people. And, that's coming up. It's a given. We're at $22 trillion worth of debt right now. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's not going to, it's not going to continue like this. No way in hell. So, maybe just get an old school hot rod and get yourself a log cabin and chop your own wood and make your fuel from moonshine, and maybe that's what you need to do. I don't know. But as far as like what's going on in the future, one of the things I also think is a major problem is millennials don't really know how to do too much. And some people, accuse me, like I'm in the mid-60s, and they'll say, well, you know how to do things because you were taught that. I said, no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. I had to learn it, man. I mean, that's one of the beauties I like about YouTube, too. I mean, sometimes I'll find stuff in the manuals, but sometimes, or the internet in general, you can find out a lot of stuff, how to do stuff, even if you download the manuals, and you'll figure it out eventually. But, the thing is, you got to strive to do it. And a lot of people just want to be led around by the nose and how to do it, and that's it. That's all they want to do. So, golden rule number one: commodities are a high risk investment, but they're possibly high reward. And I think when people see silver go up to the roof or something like that, they're going to be so attached to that metal they'll never sell it. You know that? That's what I think is going to happen. But you probably shouldn't sell all of it because there's something about silver that's beyond, like I said, beyond the financial capabilities, financial aspect. It's the antimicrobial. what other metal out there can be made in such a way that, with the colloidal ionic silver, whereby it works against any microbe, any and all. Eventually, it'll work. It might take a few minutes, but it'll work eventually against any microbe. That's a very powerful disinfectant, and it's not harmful to the body either. You can't. You might say bleach might do the same thing, but you can't take bleach in a way. So. But that's like I said, back before they had penicillin, they were using silver. The doctors were using silver, different types of silver solutions to heal people. And that technology actually goes back thousands of years. The Roman soldiers knew about it. So anyway, over and out. Just some thoughts. I do think I got a big suspicion that the economy is going to tank before the next election, and who knows who's going to be elected next time. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I could be wrong, but